Welcome back to another exciting video of Top Movies Recap. Today I am going to explain a 2016 South Korean erotic psychological thriller film called The Handmaiden. It is inspired by the 2002 novel Fingersmith by Welsh writer Sarah Waters, with the setting changed from Victorian era Britain to Korea under Japanese colonial rule. The film's story is laid down to us from three perspectives. The first part is what the filmmaker wants us to think. The second part is what Fujiwara is plotting. The third part is what is actually going on. So let's dive into the story, but before we start, don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to our channel to get some interesting stuff and upcoming videos. Set in Korea during the 1930s prior to World War II, the film begins with a local Korean woman named Sookie preparing to move away from her home and move into the estate of a Japanese heiress, Lady Haiko. Sookie is taken on a long ride until she reaches the large estate in the countryside. A woman greets her and gives her a tour of the grounds, including an annex which has been furnished into a library. Sookie is told that she won't sleep in the servants' quarters but near the lady of the house, as she is her handmaiden. She calls Sookie Tamako and tells her that the lady is often tasked with reading for the master, her uncle, and that he loves books. Sookie is then showed her room, which is just across from the lady's bedroom. But left alone, Sookie tries to peek into the room, but a loud noise scares her back to her tiny cot. Later in the night, Sookie awakens to hear the lady Haiko screaming. She rushes into her bedroom and comforts her. Haiko says she had a nightmare and tells Sookie that her aunt had hung herself from the big cherry tree, and on moonless nights, her aunt's ghost dangles from the branch. Sookie proves to be a good handmaiden as she comforts the lady by feeding her sake and singing to her. Sookie tells us, through voiceover, that we think she is a Korean handmaiden named Tamako, but she's really Sookie, a pickpocket raised by a woman who teaches children how to steal and commit forgeries. In a flashback, we see the house takes in abandoned newborns and sells them to Japan. A man enters the House of Thieves and tells them about an interpreter who bribed his way into a translating job for the high officials. He helps Japan annex Korea and then gets naturalized so he can marry the daughter of a Japanese noble. He builds a mansion filled with books and invites Japanese collectors to his library to hold readings of rare books and auction them off. Some of the books he needs to sell but doesn't want to lose possession, so he hired this man telling the story to create forgeries. He has convinced the nobles he is Count Fujiwara from Japan. The collector's wife died with no children and her sister has died, but his wife's niece is still alive and employed to perform book readings for her uncle. Now an orphan, this woman is rich. She has 1.5 million yen in cash and 300,000 yen in bonds. And the man who calls himself Count Fujiwara plans to make her fall in love with him, and after marrying her, he'll declare her insane and have her locked up in a madhouse, thus inheriting her fortune. He wants Sookie to work as her handmaiden so she can persuade her to fall in love. Her uncle also wants to marry her for her money, but if Sookie can convince her to marry the count, he'll give her 50,000 yen and the dresses and jewelry. Sookie demands 100,000 yen. Sookie goes to the estate to meet with the staff to convince them to hire her. The women who work on staff steal her shoes as a prank, which angers her because it will make her look bad. She is amazed to see how beautiful Lady Haiko is. Sookie gives her a reference letter from the last woman she worked for, but in reality, it's a forgery by the man who is pretending to be Count Fujiwara. He has written it in Japanese, which Sookie can't read or write. He has told Sookie what the letter says: a maid is like a pair of chopsticks. Her presence is little noted, but her absence causes much distress. Lady Haiko claims she has a headache from all the reading she has had to do for her uncle and asks Sookie to read it. Sookie struggles to do so from memory, claiming it says she's like a spoon, and then finally admits she is illiterate and can't even read in Korean. Lady Haiko said she doesn't care if Sookie curses or steals, but she doesn't ever want to be lied to. She shows Sookie a picture of her mother and asks if she is as beautiful. Sookie tells her that she has heard the count say he dreams of her face in bed, her first attempt at planting a seed of a relationship. Lady Haiko gives Sookie some shoes and then leaves to go to reading practice, which she'll do alone. Sookie goes through all the dresses to see what clothes she'll inherit after the woman is locked up. She finds Benoit balls. After trying on hats, she finds a rope in a hat box. Sookie goes outside and looks up the cherry tree the lady's aunt was said to have hung herself from. Sookie finds Lady Haiko reading in the library with her uncle. She tries to approach but is told not to go past the snake. A gate is rolled closed, locking her out. She notices a statue of a snake on the ground, creating a boundary of limitations which she isn't allowed to cross. Back in her room, Sookie bathes Lady Haiko, giving her a lollipop which she says she used on children to help them associate bath time with sweetness. Lady Haiko complains one of her teeth is sharp. Sookie grabs a thimble and begins shaving it down. The two exchange sexual energy while this is going on. Sookie admires Lady Haiko's naked breasts. Count Fujiwara arrives at the estate to help with forgeries and requests the lady's handmaiden to run an errand for him. Suki and the Count discuss their plan in private. Suki tells him the lady is naive and won't take the hint that he wants sex, even if he pulls on her nipples. Count Fujiwara says Suki has to put it into her head that the lady is much happier since he'd arrived. He also gives her a gift to send along. Suki presents the gift's sapphire earrings. Suki is excited that they'll be hers when the lady is sent away to the madhouse. She also convinces Lady Heiko that the earrings are actually spinel. Lady Heiko arranges for Suki to be dressed up, which is a new experience for Suki. Lady Heiko finishes off the look with the sapphire earrings. They button each other's dresses up, which is depicted in a very sexual way, with Suki openly longing to touch her. Suki asks if Lady Heiko is planning to marry her uncle. Heiko points out that's what he raised her for, knowing he'd need access to her money one day. Eventually, he will put his entire library up for auction because he can't afford any more books. The Count paints with Lady Heiko trying to be flirtatious. Suki watches, feeling sorry for Lady Heiko for being duped. He tells Suki a peach is right, which is the signal for her to start convincing the lady that she's falling in love with the Count. After he leaves, Suki claims the lady's cheeks have grown flushed since he arrived, but the lady isn't really convinced. Now Suki harbors anger at Lady Heiko. At night, the servant's bell is ringing and Suki is called into the lady's bedroom. She asks Suki why she didn't greet her when she got back from her reading. Suki is obviously still bitter that Lady Heiko is falling for the Count, but claims she simply fell asleep. The lady says she can feel a nightmare coming on and suggests Suki sleep in bed with her. After a while, she tells Suki that the Count asked to elope with her when her uncle leaves to visit his gold mine. The lady says without a mother, she's never been told what men want. Suki teaches her how to kiss by demonstrating on her. Then she begins to make love to her under the context of showing her what it will be like when she makes love to the Count. The two women end up having sex for the first time, both claiming it is simply an instruction, although they both seem to be in love with the other. The next time the Count is painting with Lady Heiko, he orders Suki to find another job to do. Suki follows suit but then stops short, saying she has no other job except to look after the lady. Outside the grounds, the Count yells at Suki for not helping him with his plan. He puts Suki's hands on his crotch and tells her to feel how much he wants her fortune and tells her he's not going to let her fuck it up. Suki threatens to tell her that he's just a pickpocket, but he threatens in return to tell her that Suki is a Korean farmhand and shaman. Suki can't return home empty-handed, not providing for all the people who have taken her in since she was a little girl. Suki responds by saying Lady Heiko has no one on earth, and if he frightens her, she'll close up like a clam. She adds not to ever put her hand on his tiny joke of a cock again. Now Suki follows the plan accordingly, telling Lady Heiko that she, the lady, is falling for the Count. But the lady says she's fallen in love with somebody else. Nonetheless, Lady Heiko agrees to marry the Count if Suki can go with them to Japan. The Count leaves the estate to visit his mine while the Count pretends to leave but secretly hides, so he can sneak off with Lady Heiko. As soon as her uncle is gone, Heiko leaves with the Count and Suki on a ferry to Japan. Once there, Heiko and the Count are married. The next morning, Suki stops by their room and finds blood on Heiko's sheets, alluding to having lost her virginity. The Count watches the two women together. When he's not looking, Suki kisses Heiko. By the end of the week, Count Fujiwara is missing, claiming that he has gone to certify the marriage and convert the inheritance into cash. When he returns, Suki yells at him for taking her virginity and then leaving her alone. She tells him to hurry up and throw Heiko in the madhouse. Two men arrive at the hotel and ask Suki what treatment she would suggest for Heiko. Suki says she wants her confined to a place where no one can harm her and she can do no harm. The group travels into town, stopping at a mental hospital. Suki waits with the employees as they tell the Countess they are going to look after her, but then they end up grabbing Suki and taking her into the madhouse. She claims she's not the Countess and they have the wrong woman. The Count and Heiko do nothing to defend Suki as she struggles. To be continued. We hope you enjoyed our today's video. If you did like this video, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest and interesting videos.